Hello, you can see us. It's episode 10 of
Woo!
GivePenny's Good Show. How you doing? Simon to my left, but to your, is that your left?
Oh, I'm above you. On my screen, I'm above you. So
Yeah, it's true. You're above him
Simon
on
is
my
here
screen.
and Emma is here. I'm Lee Clark from GivePenny, and that's Simon Varley, and that's Emma Smith. How you doing, guys? You okay?
I'm good. I waved as if it would have been hard for people to work out which one of us was Emma and which one was Simon. I still waved. I'm doing very good, thank you. It's a bit murky here in Brighton. How's it with you guys?
Glorious.
Ah,
Glorious. It's not. I'm in the middle. I'm in our office today, and there's no one else here. Rattling around 1,500 square feet next to a ring road. So weather's all right, but it's a little bit noisy. You know, I'm used to it being quiet now. Do you remember at the beginning of lockdown when we used to hear the birds? The traffic's back, so that's one thing. Loads on the show today, as always. We're going to do things that we've noticed this week that we think are nice, and we thought would be nice to share with all of you charity peeps, or you, dear listener, maybe plural by now.
for the first time ever, somebody I was speaking to, this is a genuinely true story. Somebody I was speaking to was like, "Oh, you're like living in Airbnbs, aren't you?" I was like, "How do you know that?" They're like, "We listened to it on the podcast." I was like, "Wow." I felt quite special about it.
Basically, we're sharing our lives online. Everybody knows. It's fantastic. Shall I tell you what I had for breakfast this morning?
Is it exciting?
It's not exciting. Do you know what? I'll leave that as a mystery. No one will ever know. That's for me. That's not for everybody else. Anyway, what kind of nice stuff did you see this week is what we're going to talk about next. And then later on in the show, we're going to do another Virtualize This, which I'm looking forward to this week. Shall I start with the nice thing that I've noticed this week?
Yeah.
To kind of prompt things along? Well,
Excuse me.
a lot of stuff has gone right in the world, believe it or not. I know we get hammered with all of the negativity surrounding the pandemic, and it is horrendous. And we'll look back on these times and go, oh my God, that really did happen. But a plan has been hatched to rewild the area up north, the size of Manchester.
I saw that.
Conservation charity, Rewilding Britain. They've effectively announced plans to make a massive nature area within 3 years, which I think is really cool.
What happens if you got a house in Manchester?
Say again.
It was a joke. That was a joke. It wasn't a very funny
because
joke.
you're getting
it was
an
a joke.
Airbnb.
I was like, "Oh, I'm in trouble. I've got a place booked in Manchester. Give me a tent."
So what they want to do is effectively rewild 300,000 acres in the UK. So that's a nice thing, isn't it?
There's quite a lot of good sustainability news this week because I don't know where it is, and this is bad, but South America, somewhere in South America, they're like taking, I think the headline was taking sustainability to the streets. So like taking it seriously, and Simon's moved.
Was it not subtle? I hoped it'd be really subtle. The lighting's better.
And apparently loads of birds that have been on like declining numbers for generations are on the incline again now in the UK. So it's been a good week for the planet.
Did you guys watch Spring Watch back in spring?
No.
Spring Watch, they focused every day on the Cornwall beaver reintroduction project, which sounds like an innuendo. It's not. They're actually reintroducing wild beavers down in Cornwall, and they're flourishing. So there's my bit of sustainability news.
That's cool. That is cool.
Good job,
So,
planet. Well done.
Anything else in the good news that you've noticed this week, Simon?
I think the big one this week, well, there's a few. There's a lot of white papers. I think there's a bit of a death by white paper at the moment. But Instagram.
They're the new PowerPoint, aren't they? They are the new PowerPoint. Hey, look at us. We've produced a white paper. You mean instead of a PowerPoint, you've written it down and we can download it, but we've got to give you our details, and it will be slightly edged towards somewhere in your sales pitch. That's great. Thanks for that.
The other clever one which people are doing is we're looking to interview 1,000 fundraisers and just ask general questions about the sector. And then the first page is, what is your name? What is your contact information? What is your decision-making ability within the charity you're in? And then it asks you sort of 10 general questions. You're like, I see what you've done here. And I appreciate it, but I see what you've done here. Yeah. Instagram personal fundraising. Do you see that came out this week?
No, it isn't.
No.
So the ability for, obviously Instagram, 2-3 months ago, launched the donate button. So charities could donate through Instagram. Well, they've launched limited trials in the UK and the US this week that personal fundraisers could do the same. So like your GoFundMes of the world, you can raise for yourself or your small business using Instagram. So I think it's quite interesting.
That is cool. That is anything that increases generosity. That's a good thing, isn't it? At the end of the day, makes you feel good.
Generosity, and also just increases the normality of giving to causes that you think should be supported. I think it's just a good thing. The idea that your money doesn't have to just sit in your bank account. If you've got enough to give around, then you should be doing that.
Yeah, that's good. Have you seen anything else, Emma?
Yes, I did actually. There's a search engine called Ecosia, which is like Google. So it's another sustainability one. And basically every time you search on there, they plant trees, and they're not interested in your data. They literally just need your data footprint so that they can get the money from ads and go and plant trees. And they just planted their 100th millionth tree.
Oh my God, that's amazing!
Isn't that great? So yeah, if you're currently using Google or Bing or
Bing.
Yahoo,
if you're using Bing, go check. Yeah. What are you doing?
Any of those search engines, change it. Go and use Ecosia instead. Or
if you're using Bing, try Ask Jeeves. Or Lycos. Let's all try Lycos.
Oh my God.
Ask Jeeves does still exist.
Yep.
Does it actually?
And it's thriving. The company which was Ask Jeeves, hasn't it become Ask.com? And then Ask.com is now like a multi-billion-dollar media agency. They own way more. They own like the company who owns Tinder is owned by the company who owns Ask.com.
Oh,
it's one of those weird media conglomerates. So you're like, wow, you're everywhere.
But I bet they don't plant trees.
Did anyone watch the Rupert Murdoch documentary earlier this week?
No, it makes me sad.
Yeah, didn't miss out. It wasn't a happy thing. But that's when I was looking at media conglomerates and found that Ask Jeeves became something more sinister.
It's bedtime reading.
I try to keep my news happy if I can.
Weren't we talking about here? Isn't there a happy and only happy news feed?
Yeah, Positive News it's called. That's where I read about the Manchester thing.
Yeah, positive.news. If you've never been to positive.news, save it as a bookmark in your phone. And then when you wake up first thing in the morning, you grab your phone and you're just about to open, I don't know, I'm not going to judge, Daily Mail, The Sun, The Guardian, The Times, Financial Times, The Observer, any media outlet, just stop yourself and load positive.news.
Positive News instead.
It's a much nicer way to start the day. You get things like meditation's been proven to be good for you. And you read the article and you go, oh, that's nice. Instead of Trump's an idiot, which you just don't want to hear. You
already know. You don't need to read the news.
We already know that intuitively.
I like getting my news from Test Match Special. Does anyone listen to Test Match Special? Test Match Special, basically a group of more elderly men and women just chatting about stuff whilst the cricket's on. But I'm loving it at the moment because they're doing things like going to restaurants at night and staying in hotels, which just makes you feel the world hasn't changed. It's like, oh, this is a taste of what last summer was looking like when we were winning the World Cup and people were meeting in pubs and having a pint. So it's kind of a splash of normality in a very unnormal year.
Feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Feels like a lifetime ago. And actually, I think this would be a good time to talk about the Virtualize This. So we're all about trying to find new ways to encourage people to fundraise. And I think this week, what are we talking about, Simon, with Virtualize This?
I would like to talk about corporate fundraising. Reason being is because I think that's starting to re-emerge again. Companies are starting to think, how do I get my teams back together? And one of the ways to do that is through sort of CSR and charity link-ups. So I'd like to talk about corporate fundraising just because I'm having a lot of conversations around that area at the moment.
Yeah.
Does that sound interesting enough?
Yeah.
This would have been a brilliant episode to get Andy King on because he specialises in corporate fundraising.
Andy, if you're listening, who am I kidding? Andy's listening.
Andy's listening.
Andy might be our one listener. Andy, you're listening. We will have you on a show and we'll do this. But on the corporate fundraising side of things, it does feel like from a charity appeal or fundraising point of view, we've gone through phases. We've had the panic phase. Help! Oh my God! We haven't got any physical events. Here's an emergency appeal. Donate here. Then we've had who's the quickest to get out with a fundraising event. And then we've had lots of help from the likes of London Marathon and Just Giving and Budget Money Giving and all the givings. And they've launched the 2.6 challenge, which has raised millions, which is great. Then we had the big night in, so you get the big organisations, the big media organisations doing stuff. And we had the release of the single that came out around the same time as the big night in, which is, was it a Foo Fighters song? It was a Foo Fighters song, wasn't it?
Wasn't that the one with Captain Tom on? Or is that a different one? The one that got to number 1 was Captain Tom and that bloke who does Radio 2 on Sunday afternoons.
I don't know that.
It was number 1 with Captain Tom and Michael something, I believe his name is.
The last time I listened to the chart was
Michael Ball.
Yeah, Michael Ball and Sir Knight Lord Captain Tom produced a single which got to number 1.
Sir Knight Lord Captain Tom.
To his friends, yeah.
What is he now? He got promoted, didn't he? From something to something.
Well, he got knighted, I think.
He's been knighted.
But surely he's not allowed out. Surely he's shielding.
It was a special
Was
ceremony.
it virtual?
No, I think it was in person.
Yeah.
I think it was in person. And it was also the same day that Princess Beatrice got married. Mm-hmm. Princess Eugenie got married, maybe not Princess Beatrice. I think the Queen had quite a day of bubbles that day.
They would have kept the Queen far away. It would have been 3 meters for you, Your Highness. Well, we were talking about charts, weren't we? For a second.
Although we shouldn't have been talking about that anyway.
So for corporate fundraising, there's an awful lot going on. And I think that it's been different phases as we've gone from initial lockdown all the way through. And I feel like, I agree with you, we've had more inquiries here at GivePenny from corporates lately. They've been saying, we need something to bring our staff together in some way. You know, whilst it is becoming more and more plausible that we can physically be in the same space in some way, we are still all working remotely, or many of us are working remotely, and it might not be that we come back to an office because, you know, we as a large business might not have an office because we worked out we don't need one. But they're looking for new ways to bring their staff together. And I think that there's been some really good work done by the press to ensure that people realise that the charity sector is under an incredible amount of pressure right now, and to highlight the fact that the reason charities exist in the first place is to prop up the bits of society that the government can't fix, solve or manage. Yeah. So I think the phase we're in and about to go in is where large companies and small companies step up to the plate, because there are winners in our economy at the moment. There are winners in our economy at the moment, and those organisations have an opportunity now to step up, do some good, but also make their employees and suppliers and customers and everybody involved in those organisations and connected to them, help them to do something really, really cool that they find fun. I mean, we need to have some fun, don't we?
I agree with that. I also think we've proven how powerful online communities can be in the last 4 months, but the struggle for business leaders will be to then take that same power of community which people found online and get that into the workplace. And I think a really fantastic way to doing that is sort of creating a bridge between the two. People have been loving virtual events. People have been taking part in virtual events. They're in every household now. Why not bring one into the workplace and bring with it that same sense of empowered communities that we can go out and do stuff even if we're not together? Because that's going to have so many benefits on the remote workforce.
Emma, from your perspective, your glittered past includes working with student communities, doesn't it? So what kind of lessons do you think the corporate space could learn from student fundraising side of things?
I don't know. I mean, I remember, I'm just thinking of things like Megaraids and what we used to do, where you partner up with another university and like go on a huge, I mean, there's a bit of a debate about what actually constitutes a Megaraid. Is it when you stay overnight, or is it more than one group involved? Or that's a debate for a different day. I'm sure it'll probably be had. Well, a raid is where a university rag will go and do a street collection. But a mega raid is, and this is the debate, is a mega raid a more than one day event where you go somewhere, stay overnight and do it in more than one day? Or is a mega raid where there's more than one group of people going? So like Bournemouth University and Loughborough University, that kind of thing. So there's a bit of a debate around what actually is a Megaraid, but that's a conversation for another day. But that was a really good one. So you could link up with another company and do your fundraising together. Or and I mean, we had satellite sites, and I know a lot of universities do as well. So you have to look after the people who want to fundraise on their satellite sites as well. So that's a way of bringing, it's essentially what Simon said about bringing people back together, even if we're not all back together. So I think there's a lot to be learned from
being that it wouldn't be about work. I think I've had a conversation today with a friend of mine about how difficult it still is to separate a social life online and work at the moment. So the idea that people in the early lockdown and at the peak of lockdown were like, Lee, do you want to have a Zoom beer? And I love my mates, but I was like, no, I've been stood in front of my laptop all day, every day for the past 50 days. I don't want to stand in front of my laptop anymore. I want to just go and chill somewhere. And I think a lot of people have maybe not the exact same experience, but having that difficulty in separating, daytime, which is work, apparently, the whole of the daytime, and nighttime, which is trying not to do work rather than chilling out and actually doing something else. So giving someone an activity that's nothing to do with work, other than it's been prompted by your workplace and it's a bit of fun, I think it's quite valuable right now. So if you play the guitar, if you're then thinking, I can't wait till Friday because I'm going to live stream, or the ukulele, indeed, I'm going to live stream a little bit of a charity gig on Twitch, and I'm going to share the link with everybody I work with, but also my friends and family, and we're going to play requests, and that's a way of raising money, but it gives someone something to look forward to that isn't, an online quiz or something that we've all been part of and kind of drifted in and out of as lockdown and then the easing of social distance measures have taken place. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with this wave of corporate, a positive wave, not a second wave, a positive wave of corporate fundraising initiatives, large brands invigorating their staff and their suppliers and their customers and helping the charity sector to remain on its feet. It's not about getting back on its feet. It's already fallen over a little bit. It's stumbling along. It's about saying, right, we've just got to keep you alive long enough for you to kind of be here for the recovery that I know that the country will get through. So yeah, every little helps, as a large brand said somewhere.
I also think there's an opportunity. Well, talking about that, we should talk about the face mask law coming into place today. Is it a law? Is it just a rule? Who knows? But that came into place today, didn't it? There's a company I saw on LinkedIn this week, and I think it's called Fresh Walks. I could be wrong. And their stick is taking corporate teams away on walks in the countryside and then taking them out for lunch or something, just as a bit of a mental health exercise. But I think as a charity, they themselves might be a charity. I don't think they are. I think it's a private enterprise. But as a charity, I think networking has been limited. You can network on Zooms, etc., but the same in-person events has been limited. So if you positioned yourself as like, look, we will take either yourselves or, say, for example, you work with 10 construction firms, it could be a case of saying, we work with 10 firms already in your space. What we want to do is take some of your senior leaders away on a walk. And just that, there's no fundraising element. You just talk about your cause and you're giving them the opportunity to network, and you're networking in a completely different space, which might have been a bit weird 4 months ago. But I think the idea now that you're getting out of your house, you're getting pulled away from your computer to do some networking, which has been restricted, would be super attractive and a good way in to different corporates. Definitely.
Did you hear that bee then? It was a motorbike. I'm right by the window by the ring road, and it's really loud. So I think that there's an awful lot of good that's come out of the lockdown, like what you mentioned there, the idea of going out for a walk or networking with people and stuff. I've done a few walking meetings, and I wonder if there's a fundraising idea behind getting people to hold a meeting a day that's a walk. If it's people that used to congregate around an office, maybe 2 people that need to have a chat that day, don't organise a Zoom call or a Teams call or a Slack call or a WhatsApp call. or whatever it is they're using, FaceTime, Skype. They then decide to meet up at the local park and go for a walk as they're meeting.
But you don't even need to meet up. You can phone each other. I think it's a cracking idea. So get your teams walking, and just once a day you're encouraged that either for internal or external meetings that you go out and take a meeting on the walk.
And I think that's so much more acceptable now, and it will be moving forward. You think I used to do, because I have the dog, and for those that don't know, he's an assistance dog. I have to take him out every now and again because he's a dog. And when I worked in the office, I'd invite people to come with me. Like, come on, we'll go across the road and we'll do a one-to walk, and we'll walk and talk at the same time. And they loved it, and it became a thing. Like, I would have because it was always at lunchtime, and I'd have them booked every day. Somebody wanted to come on a walk with me, mostly for him, I'll be honest.
Yeah, but I was going to say, Emma, I wouldn't oversell your talking skills there.
It's mostly for him. But the amount of stuff of actionable stuff that came out of it that we could then, that we wouldn't have spoken about had we not gone on the walk. Lee, you're coming down to see me next week, and I've already said, let's go for a walk.
Yeah, can't wait.
I think that will become so much more acceptable in the workplace to be like, okay, do we need desks for this, or should we take a hike? Or
I was always a pre-pandemic, always a big fan of if somebody wanted to pull me into a meeting room for a chat, that I wouldn't let anyone sit down, because it would mean that the meeting's going to go on for longer than it needs to. It's obviously a question that's sensitive, so behind closed doors, fine. Or it's habit. I feel like I have to have this conversation in another room for whatever reason, because it is a meeting room. Therefore, we have meetings in here.
Yeah.
And what that used to do was almost put a time on it. You're time bound. It's like, we're not sitting down. What is it? Let's have a chat. There's a decision. Let's leave. Or that's the next thing we're going to do. Okay, let's leave. A walk has a natural end. So it's like, we're going there to there and back again, or we're going to there. And by the end of that walk, guarantee you've got everything you needed to say that was work related, out, done, decided, and off you go. And you feel better for it. Maybe that's it. The new sponsored walk isn't like a turn up and walk from the bottom of Snowdon to the top, but it's like you're sponsored to walk regularly, maybe and for corporate fundraising as part of your job. Have those walking meetings, whether you're on. How old and archaic does it sound now to have a mobile phone conversation with someone? I've had a few conversations, people going, this is novel. This is.
I rang you earlier in the week, wasn't I? And I was like, hello, it's me on the telephone.
It's a nice change, actually, from the pressure that comes with being in front of a camera. I don't think people have realised how much of a kind of subconscious pressure that's placed to perform. You know, I'm in this call and we're having a chat. If we're having a Teams call, not that we're, I'm the least professional person I know. But yeah, I think corporate fundraising, there's so much room, and there's a reason I haven't bothered to mention what corporates could do, because the corporates could just apply all of the really cool ideas that have already happened out there, from virtual marathons to virtual cycling sportives, 100 miles, using music and gaming and being sponsored to give up coffee. I don't know why you would do that. Days without alcohol, the sponsored walk thing, personal goals met, all that kind of stuff all applies at the corporate level. It's just nice to be able to say it's ring fenced, and then the marketing team for those organizations has a lot of content that probably supports the brand that they are portraying, and it's brilliant for CSR. There's so many benefits to it. So yeah, I'm glad that it's now coming along, because then we'll be ready, when we have to go through all this again and it starts again, which, let's face it, I hope it doesn't. But when the winter comes, it's going to be like Game of Thrones. Winter's coming, and then we're going to have to apply everything we learned the first time, but people will be much quicker to react, and stuff like this, will be useful. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this, to see what the big brands do. A bit like the charity sector, wait for the big charities to announce certain things and then react. I'm hoping that one or two big brands do something special, and then everybody underneath and the entire business sector reacts. It would just be fantastic. World changing.
Talking about phones to Zoom, technology with corporate partnerships. I saw my keys actually, and every office that I've been in's got like key carded access now.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about this, Lee, earlier on in regards to like payment buttons. But actually, I think more and more offices are going to be installing, if they haven't already, digital entrance systems, contactless entrance systems, because handles anywhere are sort of high touch points at the moment. So if you could do, in a similar way that Waitrose, when you check out at Waitrose, I don't, I've been once in the last 4 months, I don't shop at Waitrose, but when I've seen people check out at Waitrose, don't they get given those green tokens to put into their sort of CSR boxes at the end there?
Yeah.
So why not put that into what you're doing in everyday life anyway, and have either a section on the keypad you touch, or 2 different keypads for what cause you want to donate to, or what you're feeling like, or something like that.
That's awesome.
I mean, yeah, I think that would be quite cool. Like just a different way where you have to check into the office every day. So why not, for coming into the office, we'll give £1 to your charity. Which charity do you want to donate that today? So it encourages people to actually say, come from home, come into the office today. When you check in, £1 goes to your favourite charity, or one of our 2 charity partners.
We were talking to a payment provider this morning, Simon and I.
It's much more fun than it sounds.
It does.
No, you tell me a bit about it.
But yeah, one of the concepts that's come out of that is the idea that maybe the future there will be different ways that we pay, and it's been the same way for a long time. So maybe we're due some innovation, and a time like this does create opportunity for new ideas to flourish. And one of those ideas that came out this morning was, fully branded donation processes, but not just for charities, fully branded donation processes for companies. So, Waitrose could have a donate button around the store that people could Apple Pay or Android Pay, and it could be a branded button. I don't know if it would be like Waitrose Donate or whatever it would be. They can come up with a better one. The one that the company we talked to this morning gave Red Nose Day as an example. And they said, oh, it'd obviously be called Red Nose Pay. You're like, oh, that's brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But a marketing team working for a corporation, not let alone a charity, a marketing team working for a corporation could brainstorm ideas for what their donate button could be and how they would deploy it and how many ways they could deploy it, whether that be in the real world or online or in an app or whatever it's going to be.
You could also, in real world terms, do you remember the Amazon button? Which was, I think they've sacked it off now, but the idea that you could have it under your sink, and when you rang out a dishwasher soap, is that what it's called? Dishwasher soap? The stuff you use to wash your dishes.
Dishwasher
very
tablets?
liquid.
It's next to the ringer where you do your washing. It's next to that. Yeah.
But you just press the button, and then they'd order you Fairy Liquid, and it would come a week later. So maybe
Amazon
having
Dash.
that in a... Sorry?
It's called Amazon Dash.
Amazon Dash, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
But they were buttons. They were physical plastic buttons.
Branded button.
Yeah, branded buttons.
You could get like Arial or Bold.
Yeah, exactly.
They did it for toilet paper as well.
So you could do that.
That's why they stopped too many people.
And then like 15 bags of Blue Bowl would arrive out of frustration.
You could do that, and you could have it in office environments for charities, and you could have it attached to swearing or unnecessary meetings or too many emails.
The future. Oh, do you remember we did we talked about Blue Cross Christmas dinners?
Yeah.
Yeah, we spoke about that.
Yeah. And then you could have like a swear box, and maybe you could get people to record what they said or get them to repeat what they said and then put it in. And then you'd have like a whole wall of people where you could go and like have a laugh at everybody who swore because they had to repeat what they said into the video and then donate. That would be quite an event in an office. But yeah, that might be. I have 100 good ideas and then a billion bad ones.
I think that's what this podcast is about. If you've sat through every episode, you've probably got a couple of winning ideas which will go on and raise tens of thousands. But you've also got hundreds of ideas which would raise very, very little money and would take quite a lot of setup.
I find this podcast like nourishment for the ideas part of my brain, and I hope other people find that too. And actually, on that note, it's a good way to end this week's episode 10 live video version of our podcast.
I get a prize today.
You got a prize today?
No, I get a prize today.
What's your prize today?
I don't know. Simon set me a challenge, and I've done it.
I got you this
He's prepared this.
Well done.
Ooh, what is that? That's the weirdest thing.
Well, it's a dancing
But
robot.
I like it.
Dancing robot.
But what's the tummy?
It makes him
Well,
dance.
that's his mechanism for dancing.
Oh,
Like,
not just.
he's not actually real. He's just his clockwork.
I think that's Simon's friend.
I was going to say he's cropped up in a couple of things this week. I've seen him a few times.
I like him. He's like Simon's Bodie. Is Bodie there before we go?
Yeah, he's in the corner. Bodie, coming up here. Come here.
Come and
Come on,
perform,
the
Bodie.
podcast
Come on.
Want to see you.
There he is. Oh my God, I'm instantly in love with this dog. I've never met him.
He's a wizard.
Can he say any words?
No,
No.
you can wave. Can you wave? He's like, no, go away.
No.
No, he's quite tired.
That's fair enough. And as Bodie just said, I heard him. If you haven't already, you should subscribe to the podcast. So I happen to prefer to listen to podcasts on Spotify. I mean, they're going to rule the podcast universe sooner or later. But you might get it from Apple, and that's absolutely fine by me. And you might get it from another weird one like Stitcher, and you might pay for podcasts on things. And you should. If you like podcast content, you should pay. You got your hand up.
I'm just saying, before the sign-off, I didn't want to interrupt the sign-off, but I didn't want the sign-off to happen before I said this. For anyone who's listening, we've got 1 week left for sort of our special episode where we've interviewed fundraisers up and down the country about what's been going on during coronavirus. So if you want to be on that, I'm pre-recording them in advance and just a one-on-one 10-minute interview over the phone with myself. And then we're going to edit them into one hyper episode and sort of take a pulse on the fundraising landscape, but not in a boring white paper form. It will just be people telling you how it is direct to your ears. So if you want to get involved in that, drop me a message on LinkedIn or email, and we'll go from there. I'll put my hand down now. That's all I had to say.
Great. There is a hand feature on Zoom, isn't there?
Do you do that every week?
I've got
Simon?
a hand. Why would I use the hand feature?
Do you do that every week? Even when we're not recording the video, you're just like, I'm ready.
It's why you've
Jump
never heard
in.
me in the sign-off before. I'm just waiting. I'm like, yeah, Lee will come to me, and then it will go. And I'm like, what's happened there?
But yeah, if you haven't already, do what he said, and also subscribe to the podcast. And thanks so much for listening. And we'll see you again very soon, because we can see each other now. Maybe the next thing is we can see everybody else. But yeah, thanks for listening.
Our whole listeners.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.